Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight we are on Module 3, Lesson 5, and we are going back to measurements. In the past two modules, we talked about the metric system measurements with grams, meters, and liters as our base measurement. This time we're talking about U.S. customary measurements. And these are not on the base 10 system where we can just kind of memorize something. We have to memorize each of the individual measurements. So for length, instead of using meters in the metric system, we use miles, yards, feet, and inches. So 1 mile is equal to 5,280 feet. 1 mile can also be said that it's equal to 1,760 yards. Now, these two measurements I will provide for you on a test. All the other measurements on this page are ones that you're going to have to work on memorizing slowly. 1 yard is equal to 3 feet, and 1 foot is equal to 12 inches. So for these measurements, I sometimes draw a picture to help me remember that 1 yard is equal to 3 feet and each foot is equal to 12 inches. So I use this sometimes to help me remember those measurements. Okay, for weight, the metric system uses grams. We use pounds and ounces. So 1 pound is equal to 16 ounces. Okay, for liquid volume, the metric system used liters. We use cups and ounces. So 1 cup is equal to 8 ounces. We also use gallons, quarts, and pints. So I use this picture to help me remember. So Gallon King has 4 queens, each with 2 princesses, each with 2 cats. Now, if you learn to draw Gallon King, you can pull out so many measurements from that. I could say that I know that 1 gallon equals 4 quarts. I could say that 1 quart equals 2 pints. I could say that 1 pint equals 2 cups. I could even say that 1 quart equals blank cups. Well, if I look at 1 quart, how many cups are inside of it? 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you learn to draw Gallon Man, you can pull out so many measurements from it. And then another measurement that we need to know is our time. So 1 day is 24 hours, 1 hour is 60 minutes, and 1 minute is 60 seconds. Okay, so these are measurements we're going to work on memorizing this module. Okay, but for now, you just kind of have a cheat sheet that you can use to help you with these problems. Okay, so my next page, I'm going to work on some by myself and then we'll do some together. So I'm going to put this aside to help me work on these. So now they're asking me to convert some of these. Now I'm going to do some of these with you, some by myself, and then we're going to skip some all together. Okay, so the first one I'm going to do, and I'm going to go a little out of order. The first one I'm going to do is right here. And there's a reason I'm going a little bit out of order. So I have 3/8 gallons equals how many quarts? Okay, so I want to go from gallons to quarts. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a table going from gallons to quarts. So what do I know about gallons to quarts? Well, I can use this to help me. 1 gallon is equal to 4 quarts. That's what I know. So 1 gallon equals 4 quarts. So how did I get from 1 to 4? I multiplied by 4. So 1 times 4 is 4. So then 3/8 gallon is going to equal how many quarts? Well, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to multiply 3/8 times 4 to get me my unknown. So let's see, what is 3/8 times 4? 3/8 times 4 is the same as 3/8 times 4 over 1. And when I multiply straight across, I get 12/8. And when I do in and out, and I'm going to run out of some room here, I'm going to put my 8 outside and my 12 inside. And if I have 12, I can make one group of 8 with 4 left over. And that becomes my numerator. So 3/8 gallons is 1 4/8, which is the same as 12/8 quarts. So using this table helped me realize what to do with it. Okay, so let's try some of those together. Let's try a couple of those together. So we're gonna skip down. Actually, we're gonna skip down to this one. 4/5 pints equals how many cups? So find this one on your page. Okay, so we're gonna go from pints to cups. Okay, so let's set up our table. And we're going from pints to cups. Okay, so what do we know about pints and cups? So let's look at this. We know that 1 pint equals 2 cups. So let's start there. 1 pint is equal to 2 cups. So how did we get there? Well, 1 times 2 is 2. So I can do the same thing with this. 4/5 pints equals how many cups? Well, let's multiply by 2. So let's come over here and say 4/5 times 2 is the same as 4/5 times 2 over 1. So what are we getting? 8/5. Now, some of you might be able to do that without using in and out, but because this is a greater than 1 fraction, I'm going to figure that out. We're not going to do this one on the bottom, so if you want to use some of this space to do your in and out, you can. So my 5 goes outside as my divisor, my 8 is my dividend. So if I have 8, I can make one group of 5, which is 5, and I have 3 left. So 8/5 is the same as 1 3/5. So 4/5 pints is equal to 1 3/5 cups. So using this table is how we figured that out. Okay, using that table is how we figured that out. Okay, we are going to not do all of these, okay, but I'm gonna move on to a different one. It's gonna get a little trickier. Okay, so I'm gonna come back up to the top, and I'm gonna use my red pen now. So I'm gonna go back to this one. It says 51 ounces to pounds. Okay, so I know my table, I wanna do ounces. An ounce is OZ is the abbreviation, and LBS, that's an LBS, is the abbreviation for pounds. So 51 ounces, I'm sorry, friends, I should not have done that. I'm not there yet. I first need to see what my basic measurement is. What do I know about ounces and pounds? Well, I know that 16 ounces equals 1 pound. So 16 ounces equals 1 pound. Okay, so maybe you're noticing something really different here. And I'm going to zoom in because this one's going to be kind of a trickier one. So 16 times what equals 1? That's a little bit weird here. 16 times what equals 1? It's not going to be a whole number. It's not going to be a whole number. This is what it's actually going to be. 16 times 1/16 equals 1. And the way I know that is 16 times 1/16 is the same as 16 over 1 times 1/16, which is the same as 16/16, which equals 1. So I had to multiply this by a fraction. I had to multiply that by a fraction to get my answer. So if 16 ounces equals 1 pound and I multiplied by 1/16, well, what is 51 ounces is going to equal how many pounds? I'm going to have to do the same thing. I'm going to have to multiply by 1/16. So I'm going to zoom back out so I can use some of this space over here. So what is 51 times 1/16? Well, 51 times 1/16 is the same as 51 over 1 times 1/16, which is the same equals 51/16. And I'm going to need to use some in and out for that. So what would I get for that? Well, I could say 16. Well, if I have 51, I can make at least one group of 16. Two groups of 16 would be 32. Three groups of 16, if I can't do that in my head, I might need to figure that out. Here, three groups of 16 would be 48. So I'm not going to be able to make more than that. So three groups of 16 is 48. And I am left with 3 left. So 51 ounces equals 3 3/16 pounds. So this one was very different than the other one because I had to multiply it by a fraction. Okay, so let's try some of those together. Okay, so we're gonna do this one. Find this one on your page. Okay, so we're gonna go from inches to feet. Okay, so what do we know about inches to feet? What do we know? Well, we can use this to help us. We know that 12 inches equals 1 foot. So 12 inches equals 1 foot. Okay, so how can I go from 12 to 1? I can't multiply it by a whole number. I'm going to have to multiply it by 1/12. And again, because we can go over here and we'll use this space, what is 12 times 1/12? Well, that's the same as 12 over 1 times 1/12, which is the same as 12/12. And we know that that equals 1. So I had to multiply by 1/12. So I'm going to take my 45, and to figure out how many feet it is, I also need to multiply it by 1/12. So what is 45 times 1/12? Well, it's 45 over 1 times 1/12, which gives us 45/12. So that would be considered a greater than 1 fraction or an improper fraction. So we can do in and out to fix that. So how many groups of 12 can I make with 45? Well, 2 groups of 12 would be 24, 3 groups of 12 would be 36, and 4 groups of 12 would be 48. So we could make 3 groups, and when we subtract, we get 9. So our answer is 3 9/12. Okay, So ladies and gentlemen, we are always going from where we're starting to where we're ending, and we're figuring out what we need to multiply it by. Okay, so let's move on. I know this is a long video tonight. Sorry, I had 2 of those. Let's look at our first problem. So they show us using a tape diagram, but we're going to try it using our tables. So they want us to go from pounds to ounces. Okay, so we're gonna set up our table going from pounds to ounces. So what do we know about pounds now, ounces? Well, we can use this to help us. We know that 1 pound equals 16 ounces. So what are we gonna multiply by here? We're gonna multiply by a whole number, 16. 1 times 16 equals 16. So 2/3 pound equals what? Well, we're gonna have to multiply it by 16. So let's come over here and figure that out. 2/3 times 16 is the same as 16 over 1, which would give us 2 16ths is 32, and 3 times 1 is 3. And then we can use in and out to help us. So 3 can make 1 group of 3, and 2 can make 0 groups of 3. So we are left with, and I'm sorry you ran out of space there. I'll give you a second to catch up. We're left with 2 as our remainder. So that becomes the numerator, and remember the denominators stay the same. So our answer is 10 and 2/3. That would be our answer. Okay, let's move on to our next one. Okay, we are going from cups to ounces. So let's set up our table. Cups to ounces. Well, using my cheat sheet or my note sheet, I know that 1 cup is 8 ounces. So what do we multiply by? 8. 1 times 8 is 8. So 7/4 cup, I'm going to also multiply by 8 to get how many ounces. So let's do 7/4 times 8 is the same as 8 over 1. Which gives us 7 times 8 is 56, and 4 times 1 is 4. So now we can do our in and out to fix our improper fraction. Okay, 5 can make 1 group of 4, and 16 can make 4 groups of 4. And we have nothing left. So our answer is 14. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I know there is another page back here. You can try this if you would like to push yourself, okay? But we are gonna skip this one for now. So on your homework, here's some examples to help you. They do a different method, but I think the table method is a more efficient method. On your homework, you have quite a few problems to work on. You have a total of 9. You could use the tape diagram, but the table will be helping you for the future lessons. Okay, have a good night. Bye.